The second thing I want to talk to you about is the difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge is what you learn in school. It's what you learn in books. Wisdom is how you had to live it. And as we get along into my own life story, I had to live it, okay? And one of the things I found out is that the way that I learned was to experience things, not to read them in a book. I had to go try them out. So as I began to study wellness, I went to graduate school. And we're going to do a YouTube a little bit later about the school system in the United States and how to improve it, because at the present moment, as far as our education system, we are 53rd in the world. We walk around thinking we're so smart. People in other countries are laughing at us because of our education system has become so political and overtaken by the political system. So, as we begin to look at wellness, what is it? How do we find it? How do we measure it? Well, after many years of doing happy people parties and seeing what people found as far as what made them happy, I realized there's a huge difference between happiness and joy. And there was a wonderful guy, a psychologist, in World War II that was in a German concentration camp. He was Jewish, and he wrote a book on joy. He wrote a book on joy in the middle of a concentration camp. And so this is where we started. So how can we measure wellness? Well, we can measure it by health, we can measure it by mental health, and we can measure it by joy. So I want you to take a look at your life right now and tell me on a scale of 1 to 10, how much joy do you have in your life? And joy doesn't come from things. This is the great American dream of capitalism. The more things you have, the more happy you're going to be. Well, the problem is that happiness is based on your mind getting what it wants. And it lasts about as long as a new car smell. And then it starts looking for something new. So there's a never-ending search for happiness, because your mind is always setting different boundaries. It changes the goalposts, as it were. So this is what we're looking at, is joy. How much joy do you have in your life? Look on a scale of 1 to 10, what do you think your joy level is? So that's kind of my little introduction. When we try to keep these videos to about 5 minutes, part of the reason for that is because our society has gotten so warped by cell phones, by TV, which uses sound bites, which crams information into little tiny sound bits. And so what's the result of that? I have tested many accelerated students that were on the program, in the honor programs, and their average attention span was 5 seconds, which is about as good as a goldfish or a fruit fly. And the other thing we've lost is patience. We have no patience. Everything is about instant gratification nowadays. And we have no patience anymore. So one of the things we have to do to find joy is to learn to get into the now. And there was a wonderful author named Eckhart Tolle who wrote a book called The Power of Now. And it talks about being right here, right now. So one of the things I do is when I try to get into the now, you can use meditation, you can use mindfulness, or you can just stop where you're at and look around and say, what am I joyful for here? What am I grateful for right here? It might be a flower. It might be Zach, who's running the camera, that he's such a good guy. So we begin to take a look at how do we find joy. One of the ways we do it is to learn to be in the now, right now, not in the future, not in the past. And that's the problem with the mind. The mind thinks in the future and the past. It doesn't deal with the now. So part of the way that we get into joy and wellness is to learn to get into the now. So I'd like you to take a second just now and look around and see 3 things in your environment right now that you're grateful for. And I want you to feel the feeling that happens when you feel gratitude. Okay? So that's the beginning of who am I? Why should you listen to me? And we're going to do other videos, but we're going to try to, the other problem is with the modern system is that everything is in short bits. And people learn to learn in little tiny bits. And because of the attention span, we're going to try to keep these videos to about 5 minutes. Thank you for coming. Subscribe to the YouTube and click the like button. Blessings.